In this video, we are going through the process of this hammer texture ring. This video is not sponsored. We will need a jeweler saw and a saw blade lubricant. I'll be using beeswax. We will also need a rawhide mallet, a ring mandrel, and a miter jig, which is optional. The rawhide mallet can be replaced with a nylon mallet that can be bought at your local Harbor Freight for around $11. For this project, I began with a piece of annealed silver that was 7mm wide by 70mm long by 2mm thick. It was then polished and textured. This may seem backwards, but it is important to polish first. The polishing phase will cause our texture to wear down as it removes small amounts of metal. To obtain the texture, I use a crossbeam hammer. However, a chisel is a great substitute, but it is important to use a domed and not sharp face to make a planish mark. After texturing our piece of silver and determining our ring size, we will cut it one size smaller as our ring will stretch when we form it on the ring mandrel. Once cut, we will anneal. Make sure not to overheat your silver during this process. Applying flux to a section of your piece prior to heating gives you a good visual aid to determine when your piece reaches a proper annealing temperature, since the flux will become clear at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. We will then place our piece in a pickle solution. I use Par-X number 2. You can also use pH down for swimming pools. If you don't feel comfortable using one of these pickling solutions, 1 teaspoon of salt to 1 cup of vinegar will also work to eliminate any fire scale flux residue. Be sure to neutralize your piece in baking soda and water before handling. We will start to shape our ring. At this point, all we need is the ends to meet flush with no gap to ensure we have a solid seamless joint. It is important to use some form of non-marring pliers. If you don't have any, a piece of leather or electric tape wrapped around your pliers will work. After we are satisfied with the joint, we will pickle our piece and remove any oil or debris. If the piece is dirty, the solder will not be able to flow, which will lead us to overheating and a higher likelihood of fire stain. After cleaning our piece, we will flux the seam and padding chip. Make sure not to over apply. Quick disclaimer, please wear a proper respirator made to filter fumes. Once we start to heat our piece, make sure to pay attention as sterling silver has a melting point of 1640 degrees Fahrenheit. Hard solder's melting point is around 1400 degrees. As soon as the solder flows, we will retrieve our flame. If we need to add more heat, we will let it cool down for a second or two and gently reapply heat. We will then pickle and neutralize our ring and inspect our solder joint. Once we are satisfied, we will proceed to forming our ring. At this point, we will find out how strong our solder joint is. Make sure to flip the ring on the mandrel as it is tapered. Remember to keep a close eye on the size. At this point, if we stretch our ring, the only way to reduce it back down without a ring reducer is to cut your seam and resize it. For this reason, we cut it one size smaller. Next, we will transfer the inside and outside to remove the sharp edges. This will allow our ring to be comfortable to wear. Filing the top edge, we will make sure not to rock our file as it will cut a groove. File any scratches the ring might have developed on the inside, as the polishing stage will not remove them. We will then sand the inside with various sandpaper grits. I will start with 220 grit, move on to 400 grit, 600 grit, 800 grit, and finish with 1200 grit. This is done to remove the scratches from the previous sandpaper and achieve a mirror finish. The final step involves polishing the inside with a polishing compound. If you don't own a bench buff, you can use a flex shaft from Harbor Freight for around $50. A soft toothbrush with Dawn dish soap can be used in place of the ultrasonic cleaner.